The number one universal qualification criteria you're looking for when it comes to the selection of a girlfriend or wife is because whenever we're confronted with fear, we have a choice. Never in your fucking life let fear build up these walls. Anything worth achieving in life is initially hard. You can't get the goal without the dragon. Anything you want is on the other side of some resistance. The absolute number one key that's gonna put you into state. It's anything you want in life. You can get through this one fucking sentence. We want it to be authentic. The way it's going to be authentic, it's going to be your stories. And a story doesn't have to be anything grandiose. A story can be me telling you how I almost beat the fuck out of a guy in Malaga because he stole my phone. If you go back through your entire life, you have stories. You just don't think the stories are worth telling. You've lived enough. You have crazy stories. All of you have stories. Every single one of you here has some opinion that's as crass as mine or worse, you just don't fucking say it. If you can want the freedom of expression more than you want the outcome, you'll get the outcome. And more importantly, you'll get the self-esteem. All women want a man who can be fun and spontaneous and playful and silly and childish. I don't want people in my life who are fake nice to my face and are gonna stab me in the back. Happiness in life comes from depth. You need enough breadth to be able to get to the people with whom you can have depth, but it is depth. The woman that you're gonna raise your fucking children with, that you're gonna be with for the next 10 or 60 years, you better have your core values aligned. Tom Bilyeu says this, founder of Quest Nutrition, billion-dollar company. Identify yourself with being the learner, not the knower, and you'll never have a problem with somebody pointing out that you're wrong. Opposites don't attract. What attracts is masculine-feminine polarization, and having a disagreement is attractive to a woman. Compatibility regarding values means the same. Compatibility regarding personalities does not necessarily mean the same. The worst pain you'll experience in aggregate over time comes from closing your heart. Because if you build walls around your heart, yeah, you keep some of the pain out, but you also keep all the life's joy out. It's so funny that with all of the things I said, the number one obstacle, he was like, yeah, but the dressing though, the white shirt though. Amazing. Boom. How good did that feel? How good did that feel? Yeah, look at it. Fucking great. Flatline and spikes depends partially on where you are in the world. Eastern Europe, it's more flatline. American, it's more spikes. But it depends from individual to individual as well. There's cultural differences and individual differences. The most important thing is how you actually like to communicate. That's the most important thing. Now you can't just say, well, I'm a rather logical person, so I feel quite comfortable with flatlining this the entire time. You can't do that either. You have to do a lot more spikes, positive as well as negative emotional spikes, in the form of a tease, in the form of a story, in the form of a compliment than you have initially anticipated. But it's also individual. So for example, my father almost never cracks a joke, seriously, the entire time. So it's like, he will benefit from that a little bit, but it also works. You're not supposed to become a joker. I like a lot of emotional spikes, positive as well as negative, because that's just how I am. I'm a bit more dramatic in nature, I would say. But how you feel comfortable, that matters. But the answer is also a lot more spikes than you initially anticipated. Just however much you're doing now, just 10x it, and then eventually just bring it back down. Do a lot more spikes, way more than you initially thought was necessary or that you initially thought was authentic, and then you decrease it to a level where it's new yet still authentic. But yeah, storytelling. It's just going and leaning into storytelling, a lot more spikes. If you're wondering, should I do an emotional spike right now or should I flatline? Probably you gotta infuse it with a spike. What's a spike? It's a tease. It's a compliment. It's a story. It's a misinterpretation. It's a look. It's a silence. The general rule is a very good question. The general rule is just social circle. Don't do direct approaches in your social circle because of the reputation. Anything that's not a social circle, as in the same types of people, go ahead. So for example, I spoke to somebody yesterday about a golf club type of situation. No, don't do that either. Don't go to a golf course and do it there because that's your social circle. Yeah, so the best places for daytime approaches, or the best place in general for approaches, shopping malls and bars. That's it. Or literally the street. For example, in London, the street is amazing. Wherever there's women, you can approach. Wherever you see somebody, you got to be able to approach. Yeah. And also, by the way, you were asking about the difference between flatlines and spikes. It's also dictated by the time of day. The later it gets, the more spikes. Daytime interactions are a lot more normal. Still, you have to be a lot more fun than you initially thought. You can't be boring. But daytime is a lot more normal. The most extreme example is a nightclub. That's why you don't necessarily need to go there to find the right person, because it's just not the right target audience, at least 80-85%. Some are amazing, but 85% of the women who go to nightclubs regularly aren't necessarily what you're looking for. Bars also a lot more fun, a lot more silly. If you actually heard how ridiculous my conversations are at night, it's crazy. I was in Budapest last week and I approached a mom and her daughter and I talked to her, both of them, for 45 minutes. Both felt extremely comfortable. The mother started selling the daughter to me, not in terms of like a financial negotiation, but she was building up the daughter. You know, she doesn't go out like that. She's not the type of girl, you know, my daughter ain't really. She's like, or she goes wife material at some point. It's hilarious. Yes, it hurts a little bit. Exactly. That's why it's worth it. That is why it's a worthy outcome, because most men are cucks and they'll never be able to do it. Anything worth achieving in life is initially hard. You can't get the goal without the dragon. Anything you want is on the other side of some resistance. You just have to reframe it in your mind and not view the resistance you feel as something negative, but as exactly the way. The obstacle is the way. That is the key. That is what we should strive to get. Because the resistance that I'm feeling is exactly the reason why most men will never have what I will have. Most men will never have the highest quality relationship they could possibly have. Because they feel the resistance, they back off. When we feel that there is a negative emotion, in other words, an obstacle, there's three responses: flight, fight, or paralysis. Most men choose paralysis or flight. Attack the obstacle, not the person. Go towards it. Strive towards it. The approach anxiety you're feeling, the negative emotions you're feeling, good, that's exactly what you want. Those emotions are exactly what are going to separate you from the masses. Most men are cucks, not who they are in terms of their potential, but in terms of the avatar they choose to play. If life was a video game, they're playing a very weak version of themselves. Their potential is unlimited, but they just haven't developed the meta habit in the area of dating and relationships of going towards the pain. You feel the pain, you go towards, you're like, resistance, amazing. Give me more approach anxiety. A rejection, another one. Great. Yeah. Give it to me. That's what I want. Lean into that. Move towards it, because on the other side is exactly what you want. And if you have to get punched in the face 19 times to get one good date out of it, it's still worth it. Do you want the ultimate hack? Do you want my hack on how I do it? Do you want the number one key? The number one key to be able to get into flow? I'm going to say it right now, and probably, even though you guys are in the program, I would say only 25% of you are going to do it. I'm going to give you the key. Do you want the key? The absolute number one key that's going to put you into state. It's affirmations. It's affirmations, or incantations, as Tony Robbins calls it. That is the key. How am I able to pull off a 10-minute YouTube video, a 2-hour YouTube video with Jonathan without preparation? To be honest, that one I did even without the incantations. Incantations. Affirmations. Do affirmations. Say the same affirmation. I'm unstoppable. Whichever affirmation you want. Some empowering words. You say them for 5 minutes or a long time. Non-stop. The same affirmation with empowering music. Now we are free. You go to YouTube. You use the song. Now we are free, Gladiator. You play that on repeat. You say the same affirmation for 5 or 10 minutes. You go out. There will be no approach anxiety, or there'll be some, but it won't stop you. Oh, I'm not in the flow. Won't exist anymore. Won't exist. You can overpower any negative emotion with just brute force of affirmations. It is the key, but nobody's willing to do it. Successful people do what failures won't. Successful people do what failures won't. Create your own affirmations, 1 or 2. I've had the same 2 ones for the last 10 years. It doesn't even matter what they are. The words have to be somewhat empowering. You use your body as you say them. You play some empowering music. You do that for 5 to 10 minutes. You were tired? Irrelevant. Tiredness? Gone. Approach anxiety? Gone, at least to the extent that it won't stop you anymore. Oh, I'm not in flow anymore? No, I was just speaking continuously for the last 5 to 10 minutes, so my jaw is warmed up. I'm verbally agile, so I don't run out of things to say. It doesn't exist anymore. Oh, you need to give a presentation at work? Oh, there are some investors who I have to squeeze for money? Oh, there's whatever situation that demands a degree of social acuity and verbal agility. You do that, and you're gonna do just fine. It is the key. It's in module 6, I believe. Do it. It is the thing. It is the thing. You can say, I'm good at speaking because I've done 600-700 long-form YouTube videos and 2,500 short-form videos. Fine. But I remember the first YouTube ever that I recorded was in 2013. And I did 15, 20 minutes of affirmations beforehand, and actually the performance wasn't too bad. I can have the same objective skill set, but even me, if I'm not warmed up, it sounds like that. Warm up, state. If you're not in the right state, it doesn't matter what objective knowledge you have, whether you watched module 4 or you didn't, whether you've gotten the feedback or not. Because of state-dependent memory, you're not even able to access the resources and skills you inherently have. Putting yourself in the right state matters. Now, state can't become your tyrant. Oh, I'm not in the right state. I haven't done my affirmation, so I can't approach. No, I'm gonna do the thing, no matter what state I'm in. But modern day Instagram wisdom says, it doesn't matter what you feel like, do it anyway. Yeah, that's true, but it only holds true up until a certain threshold of negativity. If the severity of the negative emotions reaches a tipping point, I feel too bad and I actually cannot act. That's what's forgotten with this McDonald's motivational content sometimes. Ignore your feelings. But we've all had moments where we felt so we couldn't do the thing, right? We just couldn't get ourselves to do it. So the ultimate wisdom is, what does Tony Robbins say? I will make myself feel like it. Everybody take a note right now. This is going to change your life forever. If you want one thing, if you'd only take this one thing, by the way, guys, feel free to turn on your camera so you're a little bit more engaged. Everybody, if you're welcome to turn on your camera, by the way. Take this note. Everybody take a note right now. If you only take this one thing away from this program, it will be worth it. I will make myself feel like it. Anything you want in life, you can get through this one sentence. I will make myself feel like it. Have you all written this down? Write it down. This will change your life forever. I will make myself feel like it. Not I'm going to ignore my emotions. I'm going to ignore my emotions work if the severity or the negativity of the emotions hasn't crossed a certain threshold. Then it works. But if it gets worse than that, I can't. So you have to change your emotions first. And only then you're able to access positive thoughts. Emotions shift the quality of your actions. Maybe you had some weird energy. Maybe she was also born from a mother's. I've had that too. You just got punched in the face a little bit quickly. You just had this statistical luck a little bit unusually quickly. Well, this was in a shopping mall, yeah? In the moment, it's a bit scary, right? When it happens the first time. But let me tell you something. You are allowed to speak to people in public. You're not breaking any law. Society says we are allowed. Whatever is not forbidden is encouraged. You can talk to anybody, like adult, obviously. And then the second they tell you to go away, you go away. Fine. That is the law. Around a year ago or so, Jonathan and I were teaching a one-on-one bootcamp with a one-on-one client in Malaga. I'm going to demonstrate a set. I'm actually very glad that I did it and not the client. I approached this girl and I'm super positive. And I walk up, I'm like, hey, how's it going? She goes, what do you want from me? Lying there with the and I'm like, and so what do you want? I was like, can you leave me alone? I feel very uncomfortable. Even me, with years of doing this, I felt significant negative emotions for like 7 minutes. It's not to say that we don't feel anything. That's why this is a big mindset game, right? I was like, ooh, I'm glad I took this and not the client, you know? Because like sometimes it hurts. Of course, sometimes they're going to rip your soul open and they're going to take a dump right there. Yes, happens. Now, probably you also didn't smile. You went in there with a little bit tense. That's true, right? It also matters how we dress. Were you wearing a shirt? That's why I recommend when you go out, wear a white shirt, wear black trousers, wear white shoes, be well dressed when you approach and already looks different, right? Because the first time that happens is a bit freaky. I get it, right? But what you need to do right now is you need to get a positive reference experience again. Let me tell you this. So Jordan Peterson told this story, and I'm probably butchering this. He had a client who had agoraphobia, where you're afraid to leave the house. It doesn't start with people not leaving the house anymore. It starts with people, something happens in their life, some of their needs aren't met, and they go somewhere, for example, a shopping mall, and they have a panic attack. They're like, oh, I don't want to go back to the shopping mall because it might trigger a panic attack. So they don't go there anymore. Well, then they go to a petrol station and it happens there. They don't go there anymore. And then their realm of comfort, their zone of comfort decreases, because whenever we're confronted with fear, we have a choice to go through it or to back off. Never in your life let fear build up these walls. When something like this happens, You have to go through it again immediately, because otherwise, more walls, and eventually you're in your house. And some of you have experienced mild versions of that, where it's not even agoraphobia, but your comfort zone has been decreased. Oh, I couldn't go here, I couldn't go there. And did you ever notice that in your mind it's always scarier than it actually is? You're like, oh, if I go there, I might get into a fight. The presentation seems a lot more scary. Your imagination of the situation is almost always more scary than the situation itself. Even an actual kickboxing fight or a judo match isn't that scary. You might feel pain because you get punched in the face, but the fear almost only exists in anticipation of the situation, not in reality. Because fear is forward-facing. Depression is past-facing, by the way. You want to be happy? Present. If you're in the present moment, you realize, oh, I can actually handle this. It's just your anticipation of the situation. So what you have to do is you have to look at the wall that fear is building, and you're going to break right through. This is how you create true freedom. You look whatever you're afraid of in the eye, and you go right through. You need positive reference experiences immediately. And also just trust me and understand I've had similar situations, and it says nothing about you. Man, but this is good. It's good that you got that out of the way quickly, because for some it happens in month 4. It's going to happen to all of us eventually, some variation thereof. And now the good thing is, whatever rejection you get now will pale in comparison to that. Just smile, be positive, go in there, and just be like, cool, no worries, have a great day, and you walk away. And the best thing you could have done, obviously in the moment it wasn't possible because it was the first time that somebody reacted that negatively out of the blue for no reason whatsoever. But if you had just done another approach and the person would have reacted positively, you would have realized, oh, it wasn't the approach itself, it was the interpretation of the other person. Now, obviously we want to skew things in our favor. Increase the probability that it's perceived positively. It happens. It's normal. Don't judge yourself. Yeah. It's emotions. We're allowed to feel emotions. And then we either ignore emotions or we change how we feel and then take action again. Best thing you can do, ice bath, sauna, ice bath, workout, or workout, ice bath, sauna, I don't give a and then boom, back out there. And time with friends. And come into this call. Always talk about this. Okay? Always bring it up, because if you keep it in, shame only exists in the shadow. Shame only exists in the shadow. Speak it, and first of all, you realize, oh, other people have gone through the same. I'm not a fucking weirdo. I'm not the only one. It's normal. And second of all, then you can have a laugh about it. Find something funny. It's funny. In our own head, it's dramatic. But the second you actually speak it, you realize it's actually funny. So yes, affirmations are great because they just, if you pump your state strong enough, it almost doesn't matter what your current level of fear is. But you can just do progressive desensitization. Because the thing is, you skipped, if you just do the hello or ask for directions, that you can do, but you skipped 5 levels. This is the most common mistake I see people make. And it's completely understandable why. I did it too. But you gotta just go through each stage. Don't expect yourself to be able to do a direct approach straight away. A direct approach is not that easy. It'll become super easy, but in the beginning, we have to go step by step. You can start with just saying hello. You can ask for directions. But did you ask for directions and then close the Instagram at the end of it? Yeah, exactly. Well, then the next stage could be just ask for directions and have a 5-minute conversation. Ask for directions, have a 5-minute conversation, that's normal, walk away. Have a conversation, have a 5-minute conversation with a couple of statements of intent. Nothing. Have a 5-minute conversation with an indirect approach, 5-minute conversation, go for the Instagram. Have a 5-minute conversation, make a man to woman, go for the Instagram. And then you can just, and then eventually, the pain of the boredom of doing the same thing will outweigh the pain of the anxiety. It's just you turn pain on itself. One thing, look, I experience emotional pain at the thought of going to the gym. Tonight, I'm going to have to do 300-400 push-ups or so, because I'm going to be here with you guys and the gym will be closed, but I still have to get a workout in. I don't want to do 300 or 400 push-ups. But the pain of doing the push-ups pales in comparison to the pain that I'm going to experience the next day. What's the pain? Well, in my case, not really a lot, but I just won't feel the same amount of oomph, the same amount of energy, and I know I'm a because now I said I'd have to do it. I said it, now I'll have to do it. You can turn fear on itself. You can turn pain on itself. If you do, mark my words, you ask for directions 100 times and you have a 5-minute conversation, at some point, something is going to shift and going to be like, ask for the Instagram. Boom! And by accident, you have an Instagram. And then you can even do a direct approach and turn the target of success onto it being a rejection. If you define success as, I want to collect 50 rejections first, then it won't be an issue. Gunther Schmidt, I've learned this. I've spoken to Germany's best psychologist. And he told me, he does this with guys. I just tell them to get 10 rejections because they're so afraid. I learned that from him. I didn't make that up. It works. Because your brain needs to realize you don't die when you get a rejection. So the way you have to talk about, what you need to do is you need to write down 20 stories. But you see that I'm talking about an iPhone and this and that. Like, you make shit up on the spot. But the way you make it up on the spot is it's semi-made up, semi-prepared. You need to have you written down 20 stories. We want it to be authentic. The way it's going to be authentic, it's going to be your stories. And a story doesn't have to be anything grandiose. A story can be me telling you how I almost beat the out of a guy in Malaga because he stole my phone. And I realized that 3 seconds afterwards and he gave it back to me. What a genius strategy, by the way, right? Because if they steal your phone, you don't notice it, there's no complaint. But if they give it back to you and you go to the police and you say, hey, he stole my phone, but he got it back. Right, real piece. That's a mini story, and then obviously I would elaborate on it, and then I bring a couple of girls into whatever, and make it more elaborate. But a story can be something short or something long. Write down 20 stories. You'll never run out of things to say. No. The way you were right with the first sentence, and then you were lost with the second thing you said. Yeah, you're supposed to connect emotionally, but the way you connect emotionally is through stories. How else are you going to connect emotionally? Emotions can be fun. Emotions can be a little outrage. And it doesn't have to be mega funny. I don't want you to put the pressure on yourself of having stand-up comedy level humor. But yeah, something witty, something fun, something engaging, something provocative. Yeah, for sure, absolutely. But all of your stories should have those elements in them. Of course, when I say story, I don't mean a sequential array of facts. Let me ask you this. What's the craziest you did in the last year? Yeah, but you're not prepared. You're not nervous. You're just not prepared. You haven't written this down. Relax. It's all good. Write down 30 stories from the last year. What cool did I do? For example, I'll give you another example. And all these stories I would tell the girls just like this. I did this. We had boot camp in Barcelona. I was in Malaga. I was in Budapest. I'm telling girls, like, you're the girl, right? I'd be telling you the story. So 3 months ago, I was in Dublin in Temple Bar, which is like the pub area, not just one pub, the pub area. I'm going to stand there with a very good friend of mine. So at 9 p.m., there's a bunch of people we're talking. I don't know what I'm saying. French people, blah, blah, blah. Out of nowhere, this random homeless comes and punches me in the balls. And it hurt. For like 17 minutes afterwards, my left ball was hurting sincerely. My friend was like, if she had done it to me, I would have knocked her the out. I used to be extremely compassionate for homeless people. Now, yeah, it's become a little bit more selective. No, I don't make any stories up. Very good question. No, that's real. I only tell real stories. I don't make shit up. That's the cool thing. I only tell that's a real story. Yeah, but then we're at the root cause. You need to go out there and live more. Get more experiences. By the way, first of all, fact, if you go back through your entire life, you have stories. You just don't think the stories are worth telling. The standard you impose upon your own stories in terms of how good they have to be before you can tell them is way too high. Who gives a bro? See, you're so logical. You think, well, it crossed the threshold. Oh, the girl that I just met, I can only tell stories from 4 years ago. 5 years, can't use it during the approach anymore because why? No. Any story you have at any point in time is a story. But also, I use stories that happened today, that happened yesterday, right? This that happens but also live more, get out there, do more, then you have new stories. Dance bachata salsa, take jiu-jitsu classes. Like, if you live, I have so many stories because I'm also doing things. But you have more than enough stories than you think. You're just imposing a standard of perfection onto those stories that is absolutely not adequate. You have amazing stories, you just need to write them down. I'm a chick, you just approached me or we're on the date. I want you to tell the story in a captivating manner. Say it. Don't be logical man to man. I'm the girl. Tell me the story. Vocal tonality, make it exciting. Let's go. The only reason I wouldn't tell the story is because if you say it's a crazy that happened, it's going to make you sound like you haven't in a year. So that's the problem. She's like, oh, she suggested that we can sit there and but overall, if I were to tell that story and I'm about to make it up, right? If I approach, this is more like nightclub scenario, I could actually say this. I was like, rarely happens. No, if you're a girl and we're on a date, I would actually tell the story like this. I was like, yeah, so like a while ago, quite a while ago, 6 months ago or so, I have this neighbor and she came to my place, we're going to have some dinner or something. And all of a sudden, she just goes, we should get undressed and watch this movie. And that's when I realized, oh, feminism is amazing. Oh, female empowerment is amazing. That's because if feminism would have never existed, she would have never felt manly enough to make the move, to suggest. And what happened? Well, we sat next to each other and we prayed and we watched the movie. That was about it. This is not perfect. I didn't make it up right. But you could actually tell the story like this on a date. I'm not saying that you have to or anything, but you can actually absolutely get away with it. You guys have no idea what you can get away with. You don't even know. You think, I couldn't possibly say this? Yeah, absolutely you can say this. You just can't make it sound like, this is the crazy that happened to me, because then it's like, oh, it's a bit boring, right? Just You don't have to say it like that. But you can be like, yeah, one time I was on a date with this girl and she actually randomly suggested to get naked and keep watching the movie. Obviously, since I'm a good Christian, she sat 1.5 meters away from me, and we watched, what's that guy who did David Attenborough, the guy who narrates Earth? Attenborough, exactly. And we continued to watch David Attenborough until she whatever, right? And then you keep playing with the story, right? But you, one, have to live more, get out there and do more, start dancing bachata and salsa, but also write down the stories you have because you have plenty of stories in your life. Write them down, watch the storytelling module, make it exciting. You have, every single one of you've lived enough. You have crazy stories. All of you have stories and they're worth telling. You just haven't ascribed enough value to your spoken word. I can tell any story because I fundamentally believe it's interesting because it comes out of my mouth. It is part of my journey, therefore it is interesting, which is a concept that clearly does not apply in a business context. In a professional context, you open your mouth if what you're about to say has merit. If what you're about to say has neither merit nor utility, you won't say it. In a dating context, that does not apply. You say for the sake of saying it. It's better to say something than nothing. It's better to say something than nothing. Because sometimes I start talking to a girl, I don't even know where it's going to go, but I trust myself that I'm going to be able to find emotional relevance 4 sentences or 14 sentences into the story. But it's better than saying nothing. Never say that again. That's the past you. That's the old you. Up until this point. There's no lot, bro, I know plenty of engineers who are good storytellers, and you can be as well. I understand that up until this point, the combination of nature and nurture has led you to being where you are right now. Completely understand it. But you can change that today. You can change it. Actually, let's give it a reframe. Being an engineer is going to lead you to design stories in a much better way than most people. You have the intellectual capabilities to design stories according to principles that are actually going to make it more interesting, and then you could just practice them and then whip them out. Most of spontaneous communication is just prepared communication, slightly tweaked. Anything can become a story. Anything. You look around, you take visual cues, auditory cues, take cues from the environment, write down your stories. For me to be able to give you feedback, tell the story. I know you're not going to remember perfectly, but tell the story. Don't go into character, act it out. Don't say I said, actually say it from an I perspective. Tell the story the way it is, and then I'll be able to tell you whether it was actually her being easily offended or whether you made some calibration mistakes. But go ahead, tell the story. The number one universal qualification criteria you're looking for when it comes to the selection of a girlfriend or wife is somebody who's secure within herself, somebody who is not easily offended. Well, if I were to tell you how to handle it, okay, did she say it with a smirk or was she really a little negative? What you do in that case is you pay the bill, you get her an Uber home, and you off and you never see her again. Every single one of you here has some opinion that's as crass as mine or worse, you just don't say it. Don't make it up. Remember, I only say things that are actually dear to my heart. But say that. And I'm not talking about insulting her, not crass in the sense of insulting her. No, not at all. But I'm like, oh, feminism is... Did you ever say something? I'm not that, but did you say something like that ever? And again, we all here have different opinions. We're not going to get political or anything. I just want all of you to express your opinions in a social environment. And remember, if she's ever uncomfortable, you immediately, bam, you become, the second she's uncomfortable, boom, you go back to comfort. As long as she's comfortable, you go boom, masculine, leading. And the second she's uncomfortable, then you emphasize comfort. You're like, oh, I'm uncomfortable in this position. Please go a little bit slower. No problem at all, immediately. Because we only have a great time when she has a great time. You need to put the balls on the table. You need to spend more time with men who are just radically honest, who don't give a f. And I would never say anything to insult her, right? I would never critique any point of physical appearance that she happens to possess. You all have your own opinions. I want you, I'm not religious, I'm not political. I'm just you guys do what you want. I'm not ideological. I like these ideas, I like those ideas. I like something here, I like something there. If you can want the freedom of expression more than you want the outcome, you'll get the outcome. And more importantly, you'll get the self-esteem. And this freedom of expression that you experience in the moment and the flow in essence is better than sex ever could be. Sex is just a precursor to a relationship. Sex only matters when you don't have it. The freedom of expression, of saying what comes to mind, Borussia, and being calibrated, making sure everybody has a great time, not being offensive, but saying what you actually believe in an entertaining way is unbelievable. That's what I want you guys to experience. That flow state. All women want a man who can be fun and spontaneous and playful and silly and childish. Well, to the extent that you don't match it to her. You are as polarizing or as little polarizing as you are, and then you find somebody who matches that. Most of you are less like this, so you need find a woman who needs less. I am not putting this on. This has just always been me. I am just naturally quite polarizing. If somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm like, okay, well now we got it. Let's go. So I'm naturally like this. I like just provoking. I wish it wasn't like that, but I am. And it's cool. But then here's the beautiful way. You do it in a way where it's win-win, not win-lose. I've just found a genius way of doing it where it's not me, like as a 13-year-old, I might do it in a way where it's win-lose, but now you do it in a way where everybody laughs. I was like, aha! If he would have gotten offended right there, I know me and him are never going to be friends. Why do I do this? Because there's zero value in platonic, politically correct relationships. Zero. I don't want people in my life who are fake nice to my face and are going to stab me in the back. I don't give a solitary. I would much rather have you tell me that you don't like me to my face and we walk separate ways and that I can be respectful and never bring the subject up ever again than have somebody who pretends to get along with me and then stab you in the back because he's a weasel. I don't need that. I want depth. Happiness in life comes from depth. You need enough breath to be able to get to the people with whom you can have depth, but it is depth. The woman that you're going to raise your children with, that you're going to be with for the next 10 or 60 years, you better have your core values aligned. That's why if you joke about something that you care about and she gets offended, guess what? She isn't right for you. Because the right woman will be like, hey, she'll agree. And some of you are more on the left. Some of you are more on the right. I don't give a I want all of you to be happy. I want happiness. I'm not ideological. I like certain ideas from the left side. I like certain ideas from the right side. It's just if somebody's deeply ideological, this ideology, that's where it becomes a problem. We got to be able to reason about each argument based on its merit, not because of the ideology it's attached to. And by the way, that open-mindedness and common sense and lack of being ideological is also something that I'd be looking for in a woman. So Fernanda and I, Fernanda's like that. We agree on most things naturally, but we can also reason about things based on their merit. I like, this point, well, what about I also have radical open-mindedness. I'm willing to change my mind on anything if presented with evidence to the contrary. And that's a quality that I'm looking for. Because I don't want somebody with an ego. I may come across like I have an ego, but I actually don't. Now I'm in teaching mode. But if we were to have an argument, you say, David, this or that, I'm like, yeah, you're right. You'll see me change my opinion instantaneously. Because I'm not attached to being the knower. My identity is being the learner, not the knower. Tom Bilyeu says this, founder of Quest Nutrition, billion-dollar company. Identify yourself with being the learner, not the knower, and you'll never have a problem with somebody pointing out that you're wrong. And if you want to advance quickly in life, you have to admit to yourself that you're wrong as many times as possible, as fast as possible. Opposites don't attract. What attracts is masculine-feminine polarization, and having a disagreement is attractive to a woman. Being able to disagree is attractive. Opposites don't necessarily attract. What really look, if you don't like pride, and I tell you pride is the best thing, do you now like me more or less? No, you like people who have the same values. Yeah. Having the same values is attractive. Now, you can have very different personality types. That can be attractive. But what is really attractive to a woman is more opposing energies than opposites in terms of values. Opposing energies and being able to disagree and having a playful conflict, that is attractive to a woman. What is a tease? I tell her something that might create a slight playful, loving, emotional, negative spike. Ooh, that is what's attractive. Because it shows to her that you're not needy and it creates positive emotions within her. But if you actually disagree on fundamental values, that does not attract. Now, Fernanda and I, we have very different personality types. She's 99% introverted, I'm 99% extroverted. Or 95, whatever. So, different personality types. Compatibility regarding values means the same. Compatibility regarding personalities does not necessarily mean the same. Opposites attract is Instagram dating McDonald's content. That 45 newly divorced women post on the Instagram to make themselves feel better about themselves. What are you going to lose by going for it? Nothing. It's not a real friendship anyway. It's somebody you knew from back in the day. So the way I would do it is I would treat it as a date. I would assume it's a date. And basically what I would do is I would just start layering in statements of intent slowly and then see how she reacts. So every now and then, little compliment. Hey, I love your eyes. Oh, wow. Ooh. And then if she's like, cool. If you're increasing escalation and she continually decreases it, you know where you're at. Just step by step. Little compliment here, little high five, little fist bump. See how she reacts. If she like keeps pulling back, well, you know it's friendly. You just build it, but then you play the. And if she's into it, who gives a f? Just go for a kiss after an hour and a half or 2 hours. Just go for the kiss. What do you have to lose? The beauty of it is it's very calibrated. If she's ever uncomfortable, if you see in your mind, it's never... Now, don't disqualify yourself because it may very well go somewhere. Whenever a woman meets with me, I would always assume it's romantic. Now, it may very well not be, but you just move it there slowly, fist bump, boom, high five, hug, and if she just continuously... If she's into it and you say, like, you build it, but you play the... and you'll know what's up. But the reason I can do that is because I'm allowed to make fun of I make fun of myself just as much, you know? We like people who are like us or who we want to be like. The more different the culture, the lower the probability you're going to get on well with them. A lot of them are just very different, but it depends on the individual. I would just say, look, here's the principle. Communication gets tailored to the context, not the individual. I'll never change my communication style. I'll just do my thing. Talk to the individual and see how you vibe. That's why I'm all about polarizing communication. Polarizing in your way, not in my fucking way. Figure out how you like to express yourself. I love appreciating world's diversity in like the Chinese culture, Japanese culture, what have you. I think it's all awesome. But for me, to live with me, you gotta be kind of like me. You get connected to people from all around the world and you realize there's cats in every culture and there's beautiful people in every culture. That's the beautiful thing about this. Talk to everybody. Talk to everybody and find out. Don't let them steal your phone, as in pickpockets, literally. I mean that literally. But talk to people everywhere. But I think, isn't that beautiful? Think about that. Isn't this game social dynamics? It connects you. It's supposed to connect. It's not win-lose. If you do it the right way, it's win-win. We want everybody to feel good. We want everybody to leave feeling better. Even when you get a rejection, you walk down the street, you compliment a woman, she's not into it. Oftentimes they'll say, I'm married, I have a husband, but thank you so much for coming over to me. If you can just share positivity, most of the time you'll have great experiences. Every now and then, just like pure Sajid earlier, you're going to have a experience. And sometimes you're going to meet evil pieces of, but more often than not, you'll have a beautiful experience. And you realize that, yes, it will hurt sometimes to have negative interactions with people after you've opened your heart. But the worst pain you'll experience in aggregate over time comes from closing your heart. Because if you build walls around your heart, yeah, you keep some of the pain out, but you also keep all the life's joy out. And it's not worth it. It is the most logical decision to trust and to open yourself up and to offer yourself. Offer yourself. Approaching is being vulnerable. Being vulnerable doesn't just mean, oh, you know, my cat died and I feel kind of sad about it. That's not vulnerability. Vulnerability means approaching with positivity. That's vulnerability. You open yourself. You offer yourself. Stoically, not nihilistically. Stoically knowing that 9 out of 10 women is not going to go anywhere. 3 out of 10. Whatever the ratio is. Way more than half. But success is the ability to go from approach to approach without the loss of enthusiasm. Because even though you stoically know that the next approach won't be your wife, statistically, at some point the next approach will be, Fernanda, will be your approach. And if you then walk in with a half version of yourself, she won't be. So you need to treat each approach as if that's going to be the one. Stoically knowing, yeah, it'll probably take a couple hundred more. And that's why it's such a beautiful journey. And it's one of the most amazing things you'll ever commit yourself to. Because you actually go all in for a couple of months. Not only will you get the outcome, you'll make experiences along the way, and you'll actually do the thing. That's the most important part. You reinforce the meta habit of doing the thing. You're a man who does the thing. You do lose the weight. You make the money. You get the girl. You do the thing. What most men just talk about, you actually do. You need to change your haircut, okay? Right now your head looks like an egg, okay? So what you need to do is but that can be changed very quickly. 0.5 fade on the side, longer on the top. No length from the top, 0.5 fade. And with storytelling, the way you do that is you write down your stories and then you practice them. Like, for example, as we were talking about, what stories do I have? This one, that one, yeah. My mom wants, you know how they talk. Like, you should go, all of you should go into whatever stereotype you have. You're like, yeah, so say the thing nobody dares to say because it's awkward. And you say it in a funny way. Make fun of your own stereotypes. For me, ginger, German, vampire teeth. That's all I got. For you, it's all the stereotypes that you have, bro. But you get the point, right? Lean into that. For me, it's Germans, and it's exporting weapons, and it's economy. It's a stick up the... It's territorial expansion. It's a lack of personality. It's, lean into that. Write out what stereotypes are there. Boom. fully go into that. And I have a Polish cameraman, keep that in mind, right? Like whatever stereotype you have associated with your country, your culture, milk that. Don't overdo it, because self-deprecation taken to an extreme is going to make you come across insecure. But once or twice over the course of a date, bam, really hits. Trust me. And you have such beautiful energy. You have such beautiful energy, man. If you go out and you share that, you'll connect. You'll make friends. Good shit is going to come from it. Talk to the couples. Hey, you guys are a beautiful couple. God boom. Hey, just talk to the groups. Talk to everybody. Just talk to everybody. You're just there to talk to people. You're just there to share positivity. The only criteria for success is to either get rejection or share positivity. That's it. And then you stay in set. You don't leave. You say one sentence and you just keep talking. Hey, yeah, here for my first time. A friend of mine told me to come here, blah, blah, blah. Like to check this place, whatever. Just talk. Oh, what do you do for work? Cool. Okay, awesome. Even if you don't make it Superman to woman in the beginning, even if it's just like general socializing of just like, bam, getting a lot of interaction points, that will already be a win. Most people are a bit lost in life, but they're also really nice people. Every now, 1 out of 10 is going to be a bit of 15 out of 10, 12 out of 20 are going to be like 15 out of 20, 12 out of 20 are going to be very positive interactions. Some are going to be shorter, some are going to be longer, yeah. Dress well when you go, and then boom. It's so funny that with all of the things I said, the number one obstacle, he was like, yeah, but the dressing though, the white shirt though. That's awesome, bro. That's amazing. The way you just told that story was fun. I was listening, I was like, oh, I would f him. I was like, that's really cool, you know? It was like, boom, there was oomph, I was in a fucking war, and then I knocked the guy out, and it's like, there was certainty behind it. That was awesome, bro. Really cool. Amazing. Boom. How good did that feel? How good did that feel? Yeah, look at him. Fucking great. The way you're speaking now is so much better than like a month ago or so. Awesome storytelling. Congrats on the fight. That's really cool. And good luck with the date tomorrow. Enjoy that. Have fun. Put the balls on the table. It's a very good question, but it comes down to a fundamental change in core philosophy, which is I'm okay with burning the wrong bridges. I don't care about my second degree cousin who I don't like. I don't care about the local farmer if he and I don't have the same core values. I'll be respectful. I will not interfere with their rights to express themselves, but I will definitely not let them, because what's going to happen? I'll talk to her and express some core value, and then she goes and tells the local farm, who cares? I don't give a fuck about those people's opinion. Most people, they don't like you anyway. Newsflash. They don't really like you. 9 out of 10 people in your town don't like you. That's true for everyone. You might think they do, but they really don't. And if you're honest with yourself, you don't like them either. Here's a big difference. Spiritually, we can like them in terms of who they are as a being. We can wish them all the best. We can meditate and wish beings well. And when we see them, we can be respectful and we can be kind and we can be courteous. But you don't have enough of a compatibility regarding values and personality to actually like one another. Not really. And once you understand that, you're like, oh, I can wish them all the best, but they don't like me anyway. So it's just about whether they're going to find it out or not. It's a commitment to depth over width. Because a lot of you guys are trying to get on with everybody. You're trying to get along with everybody. Stop trying to get along with everybody. Because the people who were right for you, you don't have to try to get along with. It's easy, it's effortless. You know that with your best friends. Do you have to try to get along? Or can you just say whatever comes to your mind and they just laugh? That's what it is. And I want all of you guys to have quality relationships to men and to women and a woman. And it comes from accepting a little bit of friction along the process. It's really fine. It's really, really worth it. And then if they disagree, no worries. I wish you all the best. Because as much as I talk about them, they're still peaceful people.